Welcome to Gringo Gone Wild. I'm Rusty Johnson. This is part 3 of Ayahuasca and my spirit guide. My shaman said, "Rusty, are you okay?" And I didn't answer him. And she said, "Why aren't you answering your friend?" I said, "Because I feel if I answer him, I'll break out of this trance or whatever I'm in talking to you. And then when I return to it, you won't be here." And she said, "I'll be here. Don't be rude. Answer your friend." I said, "I don't want you to leave." She says, "I'm not going anywhere. Even if you wanted me to go, I'm not going anywhere. Answer him." So then I turned and answered him. I'm like, "Oh, everything is absolutely beautiful. Can't believe it. You won't believe it. Everything's perfect." And then I go and put my head back down. And she was somewhat comical. She just kind of like put her face right up to mine. She's like, "See? Look. I didn't go anywhere. I'm still here." So I'm like, okay. All right, I get it. And so at this time, literally, her babies are crawling all over. She starts thanking me again that I took her out of the jungle and that she was going to always be with me. It's a spirit guide, so people would call it. And she says, "and my babies as well." And the generations of them, pretty much endless, between cousins and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And they're all here and we're all together. But we owe our togetherness to you. Made me feel at least a little bit better. Then she just started going on about the future. And I've never in my entire life had visions that were this personal. I mean, I've had things where I've seen them and I interpret them, but nothing that was this personal where literally I could sit there quietly and it was feeding me information. A lot of times when I would do ayahuasca, it's always almost a light show or watching a TV show and you're interpreting what your visions are. Where this was just a conversation. As I said, it was all still in black and white, except for the one vision of the Amazon was in color. But it wasn't like I was sitting here high off of my ass talking to a viper. The viper was literally talking to me, and it was feeding me so much information, and everything was so detailed. I flipped over onto my back, and I had one knee up, and she ended up coiling on my chest, and then all these smaller vipers were kind of just hanging out, like I was a rock or something. They were little, so some were maybe 3 foot long, some were only like maybe 9-10 inches long. There was one coiled up on my knee that was the smallest of all of them, and he had one eye. Literally the right eye of him was in a hole. It was just like a scale over top. He's a little special, she said. He died right at birth from deformity, and I nicknamed him Patch because it looked like he had a patch on his eye. And he was the runt of every other viper that was there. And she says that he always finds the high part to sit on to make him feel big and special. So he was just coiled up on my knee. All the other ones were just zipping around, wandering, but no fear whatsoever. It was pleasant. It was such a pleasant experience. I knew they were all there for good and really to help me. One of the first things I said when everything became so vivid, this to me was so incredible, I just assumed when the ayahuasca ceremony was over, that was it. She was going to be gone and game over. So I said that. I said, "I don't want you to leave." She says, "I'm not going to leave." And I was like, "You're going to leave." I said, "The ayahuasca is going to wear off and then you're going to be gone." She says, "No, I'm not." She says, "I'm going to be here for the rest of your life. Even if you don't want me here, I'm going to be here." And I said, "Nah, you're going to leave." And then she would bite me on my forearm. And literally a real quick like snap on my forearm. Obviously spiritually, and I saw it. And that reaction would always repeat itself whenever I would doubt her or doubt myself. When she started talking about staying around and protecting me, being kind of a spiritual guide, I was cursed for years. I found out. I always thought it was bad luck and I was just screwing up on tons of things. But after spending time with shamans, they said that there was this juju milo that a very jealous person put upon me. And this was the effect of it. She told me straight up, she says, "That's gone now. I'm here. It's not returning. It can't return. I'm taking care of it." But whenever I would doubt her, she'd give me like a little tag bite on my left forearm. Basically say, "Have some damn confidence in yourself." And then she said, "You have my medicine now. Careful with it. It is extremely powerful medicine, and it will kill you if you don't take it slowly and do it properly. But if you do take it seriously, slowly, and properly, it'll change your life. It'll change a lot of people's lives, and you will help a lot of people with it." And she told me how to do it, which I don't really go into because I don't want people to try it and mess up and die. But, she told me how to do it. Then started talking about my future. Fabi was at my side, and she said, take care of Fabi because she's going to take care of you, and you guys are going to have a fantastic future together. I said, do you think we'll have a family? Think we'll have a child? And she said, yes. I said, well, will it be a boy or a girl? And right when I said that, I took it back. I didn't want to know. In the meanwhile, my shaman was walking around singing his Icaros, which are the ceremonial songs, and he had a rattle in his hand. And he's shaking the rattle, and at the same time, he's coming to me. And when I said, am I going to have a boy or a girl? But then I said, wait, I don't want to know. By the time I got the sentence, I don't want to know, out, he's right in front of me with the rattle going, and the rattle is repeating, Nina, 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 which means little girl, over and over again, like 50 times. Then was the second time, and the last time I saw color in this experience was kind of a back shot of me, Fabiola, walking in my backyard in New York on like a sunny spring day. And in between us, we were hand in hand with a tiny little baby in a white dress with a white hat, just learning how to walk. Maybe a year or two old. That faded out. That one and the Amazon panorama was the only two colored visions I had throughout the entire time, which has always been unusual. Usually it's been super vivid color. This was literally just black and white shadow until those two colorful visions. So then she goes on and she tells me that, her job from now on is to be a protector of me, a spiritual protector of me and a guide. That all her young and all her ancestors are around me. And even to the fact that your loved ones, when you hug your daughter, one of my ancestors was going to hop onto her and protect her. You hug your parents, you hug, a person close to you. We'll all be here, but I'll always be with you personally. If you ever think you lost me, it's only because you lost yourself. So this went on for approximately about 5 to 6 hours of her telling me about the future with Fabi, as well as using her medicine, and that she was going to be there to protect me. Kind of one of the last things I said when the ceremony was coming to a close, kind of laying there with all these spiritual vipers laying on top of me, and she's on my chest and have them on my knees and curled around my neck and all over. And I said, well, what's your name? And she says, I don't have a name. I said, well, you need a name. How do I refer to you? Or if I want to call you or connect with you, what do I do? And she said, Soy Shushupi, which is, I'm the Bushmaster, she told me. And that was her name. That was it. There was no personalized, name to it. Slowly the ayahuasca fading away, but she was still there. I felt her there, saw her there, heard her voice. What really blew my mind is this has never ever happened to me in my entire life. I've never really, I don't say I haven't been a believer of it, but since it's never happened to me, I've never really took it seriously of having some spiritual connections. I would typically say, well, it was just the DMT and the ayahuasca that was playing tricks on your brain. One, I don't think my brain has a capability to come up with this story and situation. And two, after the ayahuasca left my system, she was still there to this very day. Right now, hanging on my shoulder, her head's right up over here. Sounds absolutely freaking nuts, I know. That's why I only tell very few people about it, because it sounds so off the wall. But on the advice that she has given me, I got into a bad situation that I had to go through. And I remember sitting there and she was with me. I felt her and I said, why is this happening? And she said, Rusty, the thing is that when you're down in the jungle, you literally are afraid of nothing. You'll catch me. You will do dangerous things. You will not be scared. You really have no fear when you're down in the jungle. But when you're here in New York, you're afraid of so many things. In a business, I would rather catch a cobra than go to a financial budget meeting. That would give me a panic attack more than catching a cobra. It just seemed so foreign to me, so beyond my control, and just so out of comfort zone. And I really don't know why. What would seem to be an everyday occurrence for people here in New York, to me, seemed frightening. But yet, things that would seem absolutely frightening to them seem normal, sometimes mundane to me. So when she said this, she says, you know what? Once you get past this terrible situation that you're in, there's going to be nothing up here you're ever going to be afraid of again. This is how you're going to learn, to where you'll be just as fearless up here in New York as you are down in the jungle. And as time passed, it had been absolutely 100% the truth. Interestingly, when Fabi was finished with her experience, before I even told her what I dealt with, I asked her how was her experience. And really, really cool. She saw the Shishupi as well. And she was saying to her, listen, I am so sorry that I cut you to pieces and ate you. She was feeling the guilt about eating her. And she says, no, it's exactly what I wanted. And anybody who did eat me is going to eternally be protected by me and by my family. That is something that I promise you. Now, aside from that, she says also, she showed me who put the curse out on you, the Juju Milo. She showed me a picture. I said, what did the picture look like? And well, she said, this is a person that cursed Rusty. She described what the photo looked like. Time passed, and I showed her a few pictures of like 6 or 7 people. Immediately out of all of them, she pointed to one. She goes, that was the picture. That's the girl. And she knew exactly who put the curse on me. And it was perfectly understandable that it was her, from a tribe that is notorious for putting curses on people. I would never believe in a curse in my entire life until I spent 20 years down there, and now to me it's just as common as anything what would common be. It's just that it's common, and I've been shown how to do it. I don't do it because it bounces back on you, but it's a legit thing. It's an amazing craft, to say the least, but it's a dangerous one because there's karma with it. So, yeah, you can go and make someone's life miserable, but don't be surprised your life becomes miserable in the near future as well. But it's amazing that she picked that out of a lineup. I didn't want to just show her one picture, and I showed her a bunch of pictures, and she picked it right out. And I knew if anybody was going to curse me, it would have been her. When I came back to the States, I started implementing the Viper medicine by her instruction, and it really has been working fantastically. So much so, I ended up now have 2 Bushmasters and 6 fertile snakes down in the jungle that I'll milk once a month. Now I've been self-envenomating with Viper venom for years now, and it makes you feel great. But it also connects me to it. The Bushmaster venom, when I take it, brings back her for much clearer when I meditate, but also kills the noise in the brain. Whenever I meditate, I have a lot of noise, almost like in my brain is a TV and someone else has a remote control. And the venom gets rid of that and allows me to focus much better. So it's really changed my life. But as I said, this is something that I never really believed in or experienced in my life until now. One of the things that really blew my mind to really wrap up the whole story was about a week after this entire Bushmaster experience happened, I had a New York State Trooper detective and his son come down from New York as tourists. Spent a week showing them the jungle. Well, my right-hand man down there, Hoseas, is with me, and we decided to go to the property where he was born. And we'd stay there with his family in the village. That would be kind of our home base. So we wanted to take him on a night hike. So while we're going on the night hike, we go for about 5 miles through the jungle at night and pick out, show them nocturnal creatures and stuff. So while they're walking, I'm kind of bringing up the back for them on Jaguar Patrol, and they wanted to see a snake. So just in my mind, I said to the Bushmaster, the Shishupi, I said, Shishupi, if you were a snake, where would you be hiding around here? And in her little funny, arrogant way would say, you would never find me. And I'm like, I know I'd never find you, but if I could find you, where would you be? There was no answer. And I said, could you help us out and have a snake show up because my friends here want to see a snake? Still no response. And I just got distracted and started talking to the state trooper and his son, and we're cruising along. About 15 minutes goes by, and I look over on a small log right off of our path, and I see what looks like a snake. So I'm like, hold up. So we walk over there with the flashlight, and I look, and it's a snake. Tiny one. Only about a foot long, maybe. So Hosea shows up, and he's looking at it, and it was a snake I never saw in my life before. I'm like, I had no clue what this was. So I was kind of keeping quiet to let Hosea say, oh, it's this type of snake. And then I just agreed with him like I knew. But I had no goddamn idea what the snake was. So he's not saying anything. He's like, yeah, and he's poking around it and looking at it, and it's going underneath the leaves and stuff. And he's not saying anything about it. And so I said, Joseus, what type of snake is this? And he's like, I have no idea. Now, in the 20 years of being in the jungle, Joseus has always been my right-hand man. I've never met a person there who knew more about wildlife in the Amazon than Joseus. No less, this was property he was born and raised on. Now he's in his 40s, and this is a snake he's never seen in his entire life. And I said, man, that is weird. But hey, I guess not everybody knows everything. So we move on and continue our evening. And we get back to the hut, and the tourists go to bed, and we're sitting up there talking at the dinner table, and he goes and grabs a field guide. And we're sitting around the table, and he's looking through the field guide, and he opens up the field guide, and he looks, and you can see his eyes open wide, and he bursts out laughing, and he slams the book shut, and he puts it on the table, shaking his head. He says, I don't believe it. Because what also happened was that when we found the snake, I said, I told the Bushmaster, because he already knew the whole story. I told him as soon as it happened. And he kind of gave a smirk and said, oh, cool. And then he left it at that. Well, now he picks up this book, he reads it, he slams it shut, and he just starts laughing and shaking his head. I'm like, what's so funny? He says, look, open the book. So I open the book, and I look, and I see the photo of the snake. I look below, and the name of the snake is a rusty earth snake. To this day, she shows up. It's not always like I'm walking around with this invisible viper on my shoulder. Sometimes I am, but not all the time. It's almost you kind of call her, and she's there. Or when I would get into various serious situations in my life, she shows up and will guide me. Even now when I do ayahuasca ceremonies, if I'm leading the ceremony, I'll self-envenomate with her venom, and she literally will show up and tell me what to do. Will tell me what icaros, what songs to sing, when to shut up and keep silent, when to give someone else extra attention that may need it. And she really is my guide through any ayahuasca ceremonies that I lead. So to this day, she's still around. So as she said, she's not going whether I want her to leave or not.
And that's what happened. I know parts of it seem pretty nutty toward the end. Again, this is nothing. I've never looked for a spirit animal. I grew up with a lot of Native Americans, and I wanted a spirit animal, and I ended up having the spirit animal that was an animal that I liked, which ended up truly not being a spirit animal. And when I went into that ayahuasca ceremony that evening, I had no thoughts of looking for a spirit animal. I had no thoughts of even looking for the Shishupi or that she would show up. Honestly, that experience was totally separated from the Bushmaster experience I had the night before. But it wasn't. I just thought it was. So even if you get anything out of this one, is to realize to always keep an open mind, because you never know when you'll have an experience that'll totally change your life forever. Thank you for listening to part 3 of Ayahuasca and my spirit guide. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my podcast so you can get alerted of all of my new episodes that are coming out. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me.